Oscar Guy here. Happy 4th of July out there to my American audience. Have a hot dog and a hamburger on me. Just destroy it with mustard too. Yep, it's the top of the month once again, and you know what that means for all 140 of you. It's time for me to talk about some of the movies I've seen this past couple months in this installment of Review Roundup for the months of May and June 2023. Didn't get a chance to see a whole lot of movies this time around as I went on vacation in the middle of it, but I did my best, y'all. I gotta deliver something. Gotta keep this train a-going. To start things off, I watched a little anime short film called Robot on the Road. I was initially intrigued by this 10-minute short by stumbling across some GIFs on Twitter showcasing its smooth animation, which is very impressive. Meanwhile, it has this lighthearted tone it tries to pull off, but it really does not work since it's literally about a predatory robot character who just simply does not learn his lesson by the end of it. And the film is just like, oh no, he's quirky and goofy and it's just fan service, guys. No, it's unsettling and creepy, and this character type just does not age well. And it made me a little bit uncomfortable, if I'm being honest. But the animation is still very good, so only check it out if you're interested in that. I'm going to give Robot on the Road a 2.8 out of 5. Next up, I watched High Fidelity. I went into this one knowing that it revolves around vinyl records and has Jack Black singing Marvin Gaye in a career-launching performance. And being a connoisseur of wax myself, I have a problem. That was my way into this John Cusack-led comedy, and it was okay. I actually really loved the fourth wall breaks in this film, where John Cusack's character is really just having a conversation with us, detailing his struggles with his love life filled in with music references throughout. But it gets to the point where we feel like his therapist, who doesn't really have the power to actually give him any advice. I really wanted to like this movie more than I did, and yes, while there are some really standout scenes and lines in the film that do leave a bigger impact than others, a big portion of High Fidelity just felt redundant, overstayed, and kind of forgettable to me. I do see the appeal here, and the performances from Cusack and Jack Black are especially pretty strong. I feel that this film could have been much better with a tighter screenplay and more focused narrative. The let's get it on scene is great, but it happens at the very end and then it's over, and then you move on with your life. Let's get it on. More like let's move it along. Okay, enough. I'm going to give High Fidelity a 3.3 out of 5. After that, I watched Emily the Criminal. I've been meaning to watch this one for a while, as I've heard it's a solid Netflix watch, and Aubrey Plaza, let's just say she's got a piece of my heart and she's not gonna let it go, dog. Emily the Criminal was kinda great. It portrays a predicament and situation that is scaringly relatable to millennials like myself. You're drowning in student debt, you have a minor criminal charge, you can't enter the capitalist workforce, screw it, be a criminal. Now, it's not completely cut and dry like that, admittedly, but Emily does indeed wrestle with morality, self-doubt, and to some extent love, and her actions and situation raises a lot of alarming questions about the current environment for new, fresh-faced professionals trying to get into an increasingly relentless and difficult to enter industry. The screenplay and direction here is pretty on the nose, but the film is surprisingly thought-provoking and will have you questioning who you shouldn't or should root for. I'm going to give Emily the Criminal a 3.9 out of 5. Next up, let's talk about Casino. Now, ever since the Killers of the Flower Moon teaser trailer dropped, which by the way looks outstanding, I've been kind of kicking around the idea of circling back on Martin Scorsese's filmography in preparation for it. And let me tell you, there is an alarming amount of Scorsese films I have not seen, I must confess. And one of them was his 1995 post-Goodfellas gangster epic, Casino. I've wanted to watch this one for quite a while, as Goodfellas is one of my favorite films of all time, regardless of hearing that it's essentially just a great value brand Goodfellas in a sense. And while that does sound a bit harsh, to some extent that is true. Now, there is a lot to love here, especially if you are a Scorsese fan. Several standout scenes, Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci's trademark improvisational dialogue, the playful camera work, the needle drops, it is all there. That being said, while there is a lot to love, there is a lot going on here, and the pacing, execution, and just overall vibe just seems a bit lackluster in my opinion. It's muddled and uneven if I'm being the most critical, but after all, it is Scorsese behind the camera, so I am a bit torn on Casino, as bold and as great as it tries to be. There's just something missing. And not even Sharon Stone's scene-stealing performance can fill in the gaps, although she does do a bang-up job. I would say give it a shot. Maybe some of you will like it more than me. Just watch Goodfellas. I am going to give Casino a 3.8 out of 5. And next up, I watched a classic, man. I saw Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck, dude. Look, my friend Rob, friend of the pod, likes to watch pretty garbage movies from time to time, and I just can't help myself to investigate alongside him. And good God almighty, this one is a doozy. Howard the Duck may just be one of the worst movies I've seen in decades. Corny, cheesy, unfunny, overlong, drawn out, loud, obnoxious, uneven, overblown, cringy. Should I keep going? I mean, I really don't know what else to say about this other than the adjectives I just listed off. Stay away from this. It's not so bad it's good. Tim Robbins can't save it. Literally the best part of the movie is when Howard roundhouse kicks a door open. You will not gain anything from watching Howard the Duck. 0.8 out of 5, moving on. So, as a palate cleanser, I rewatched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, as well as watched Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, if you want my full thoughts on Across the Spider-Verse, please check out my quickie review for it, link in the description. And Into the Spider-Verse, I do really enjoy, but am also not the movie's biggest fan. I still highly recommend both, especially Across the Spider-Verse. So far, my favorite film of 2023. And so, after that, I watched Greta Gerwig's Little Women. Gerwig's directorial debut, Lady Bird, is one of my all-timers, so I really have no excuse to check out her second directorial outing here, also starring the always amazing Saoirse Ronan. Admittedly, I never really had an interest in the Little Women story, so I did give this film the benefit of the doubt, but I ended up really enjoying it. The performances from the ensemble are great all around, and the film is very well paced and shot, and I can imagine that this is a very faithful and also unique adaptation of its source material. Also, Alexander Desplat, you have no business writing music so good all the time. Not really sure what else to add here other than great work. Great work, Greta. Can't wait to see what Barbie has in store for us next month. I trust in GG. I am going to give Little Women a 4.2 out of 5. After that, I went and saw Past Lives. Much like Across the Spider-Verse, I covered my thoughts on this film in my quickie review for it, link also in the description. I will say that this is just behind Spider-Verse as my favorite film of the year so far, and now that I've sat on it for a couple more weeks, I want nothing more but to watch it again. As I've slowly come to realize the depth of it the more I think about it and the more I hear what other people say about it. It's truly a beautiful and remarkable film that I could not recommend enough to my fellow human beings out there. And then, in the same theater on the same day, I ended up watching Asteroid City. Strangely, in some way, this is a very appropriate palate cleanser after Past Lives, even though both films cover pretty deep territory surrounding the human experience in their own ways. And Asteroid City does it in pure Wes Anderson fashion at perhaps his most existential and thought-provoking. Without giving too much away, this film essentially has two parallel storylines and in turn gets very meta in its storytelling, and along the way wrestles with themes of grief and the coping and processing of it, as well as the meaning of art and our understanding of it. It also has some of the most memorable and laugh-out-loud segments in any film this year so far, but conversely raises some very cerebral questions about living in a world of uncertainty and paranoia and how to navigate it, again, in pure, quirky Wes Anderson fashion. It kind of pulls off what White Noise tried to pull off last year, if that makes sense. I'm not even the biggest fan of Wes Anderson, but I really gotta say this really worked for me, and just might be my favorite film of his, behind only The Royal Tenenbaums. I know it's early in the year, but I feel that Asteroid City already has a bad rep with some of its mixed reception, so please go into this one with an open mind, and I hope it doesn't fall by the wayside come award season. Let's just hope it doesn't get French dispatched, aka nothing. No nominations at all. I'm going to give Wes Anderson's Asteroid City a 4.3 out of 5. And finally, to round up my review roundup, I watched The Terminal. This is another film I watched with my friend Rob that actually isn't complete garbage, and in fact quite the contrary. I had never seen this film as I was aware of its somewhat mixed reception, and I had somehow confused it with The Visitor, which I think also takes place at a terminal. I could be wrong there. But man, I kind of like this movie. And no, it's not just because I happen to be a jazz aficionado. I don't know, maybe there's a bias there somewhere. Look, it's not a perfect movie, and it is kind of corny, and some of the writing in certain sequences don't always land with the tone, kind of being all over the place at times. But I think the sheer brilliance of Tom Hanks' performance, Spielberg's always solid direction, and John Williams' score kind of all brings it together for me. Underneath of it all is a warm, upbeat, and charming original tale. The love story aspect didn't do a whole lot for me, but the antics involving the side characters, especially a fantastic Stanley Tucci, made this one mostly worthwhile. Dare I say, I think it's time people give The Terminal another chance. I mean, I've seen worse and more forgettable movies out there. I don't know about you, Spielberg does no wrong. I am going to give The Terminal a 4 out of 5. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my review roundup. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you all. Barbie, Oppenheimer, let's go! Come on! That's the next thing I'm doing! Let's go! Alright, yeah, there's going to be some more movies I'm going to be watching as well, so stay tuned for the next review roundup, my next quick reviews. Let's get this season started, guys. Go easy on the fireworks, go easy on the Barbie props, and Oscar Guy is out.